Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments YouTube, Bob Gray Sr. You can go there and subscribe. That way you'll get it every week at 3 o'clock Central Time every Friday. We have this Ministry Moments. You can go to Ministry Moments podcast, whatever source you have for your podcast, and subscribe there. That way you can get it. Or go to solvechurchproblems.com and get it there. And so today, I want to talk to you about Sunday school campaigns. When I was in the early 70s with Brother Hiles, my wife was Dr. Evans' secretary, and we were members there and loved it, loved every minute of it. Brother Hiles had long Sunday school campaigns back in those days. And but I got bit by it. I mean, the campaigns, the push and the reaching people and so on. And it's a part of our DNA of those growing churches in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. And we continued on into the 90s and successfully. There was a reason why those churches were great. They baptized great numbers, they had great Sunday schools, aggressive Sunday schools, and small Sunday school classes, big part of that secret. And so the soul winning production wasn't just on one night. Now, we had a big push for Thursday night soul winning, big push. Might get the Wednesday night crowd and push them to be there Thursday. And it was a big deal. But we had more people saved on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday than we did on Thursday. Mrs. Robinson, who's in heaven now, is our record secretary, and she pointed that out to me one day. And it made sense because you've got soul winning, the commission, the Great Commission, the job of the pastor. And I organized our church 8 different soul winning times, but I organized the soul winning and wanted the soul winning to be strong. But there's also the commandment aspect. Daily, we're supposed to win souls daily. And the churches that grew in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and even in our case, into the 90s, and we were probably the last of the Mohicans in great church growth and baptisms and numbers and so on, Sunday school numbers, bus numbers. But it was because of the fact that we were soul conscious 7 days a week. Now, we're talking about Sunday school campaigns. So it's time we start kicking in the rear and getting it going again. So let me give you some thoughts that I jotted down. May I, please? I'm going to anyway. Number one, a growing church is one that has definite, isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. Let me say it again. A growing church, once in the past, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, a growing church is one that has definite, isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. Take the challenge numerically. So the great churches, the growing churches of the past, that's exactly what they did. And we can do the same thing now. But it's not over. It's not over. Don't tell me that. 400 years, God sent men of God constantly to Israel, never gave up on the nation Israel. We're only 200 some odd years old. And so it's no time to give up now. It's time to just kick ourselves in the rear and get with it. All right, we're talking about Sunday school campaigns. Number one, a growing church, and say it again, is one that has definite, isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. I'm talking about every Sunday school class having numerical growth, every bus route having numerical growth. I'm talking about Sunday morning growth, Sunday night growth, Wednesday night growth. Do you understand? Soul winning growth. All right, number two, schedule 2 campaigns a year, spring and fall. Schedule 2 campaigns, Sunday school campaigns a year, spring and fall. Now we settled on 6 weeks. Just a bit much, but we on 6 weeks. And then, so it's a schedule, put it in your schedule, and you ought to have a church calendar at the end of each year. Come up with a church calendar for the following year and make sure your Christian school doesn't take up this Thursday night soul winning. Don't have a basketball tournament when you got soul winning night. Schedule around the church. The church ought to be number one. All right, we're talking about Sunday school campaigns. Number one, a growing church is one that has definite, isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. Number two, schedule 2 Sunday school campaigns a year, 2, spring and fall. We did 6 weeks. You can do what you want to, but we did 6 weeks. Number 3, schedule a big Sunday on the last day of the campaign. If If you have a 6-week campaign, the last Sunday, you just build and build and build, and boom, and then you got that big day on the last Sunday of the campaign. We're talking about Sunday school campaigns. If you want to get back to the great church, and they were great, don't you for a second think 5,000 in Sunday school with Tom Malone wasn't real. Don't you for a second think that Forest Hills Baptist Church, Curtis Hudson, that was not real, or First Baptist Church, or Lee Robertson. No. Those were great churches, great days, and great things, but they had campaigns. Lee Robertson, every time Lee Robertson came to our town, he was, okay, week 1, transportation Sunday. Number 2, telephone Sunday. If you had a campaign or not, he was going to give you a campaign before he left, with the emphasis of those campaigns. And I loved him. So Sunday school campaigns. Number 1, a growing church is one that has definite, isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. Number 2, schedule 2, spring, fall. 6 weeks, what we did. Number 3, schedule a big Sunday on the last day. Big Sunday. Sign people up. Get ready for that last Sunday, that big day. All right. Number 4, each ministry must have their own campaign under the church campaign. Okay. We have a church-wide theme, but every ministry has its own campaign with its own theme. Okay. Don't forget, church-wide, we have a theme. Come in. The banners are there. The things are up on the walls. We're telling you, we're having a church-wide push, but every bus route had its own campaign. Every bus division had its own campaign. Every bus division leader had his own campaign. The bus director had his own campaign. So you got all these different hooks in the water. That's how it worked, and that's how it will work. Got it? Sunday school, whether it's A, B, C, or D, doesn't matter. The Sunday school class had their hook in the water. The department had their hook in the water. Superintendent had their hook in the water. And the leader of all the Sunday schools, me, I had my hook in the water. So every ministry was that way. Didn't matter. That's why it's important you understand the trot line fishing that Brother Hiles taught. Every ministry, church-wide, absolutely. Under the banner of that church-wide, every ministry had its own theme. Under that division of the bus director, the division leaders had their own. Under division leaders, the bus captains had their own. The bus captains then gave one for their drivers and riders. You got it? That's exactly the way it worked. We're talking about Sunday school campaign. This is what made it work in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and in our case, the 90s. All right. A growing church is one that has definite isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. Number 2, schedule 2 a year. Number 3, schedule a big day on the last day of the campaign. Number 4, each ministry must have its own campaign. Number 5, each ministry must set their own goals. They have to set their own goals. Again, we're numerically challenging ourselves. Now, we're not trying to be, Longview Baptist Temple never competed with First Baptist Church of Hammond. Yeah, that would be ridiculous. But we like the challenge of a First Baptist Church of Hammond. Loved it. We like that. The growing Forest Hills, Highland Park, Emmanuel Baptist Church. Those were heroes to us. And we looked up to them. They plotted and they had campaigns and things went on great. But behind us, we may be the little ship, but boy, we were going to do something. And challenge. So the best competition, be your own competition. So each ministry must set their own goals. Number 6, each ministry must reward their own workers weekly. Honor the class member, honor the Sunday school teacher, honor the superintendent, honor the bus captain who honors the bus rider, the bus division leader is a part rewarding system for the bus. You got it? It's just a bunch of hooks in the water underneath a church-wide theme that we put in front of everybody for that 6-week campaign. All right, number 1, a growing church is one that has definite, isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. One more. We just want one more. All right, number 2, schedule 2 a year, spring and fall. Number 3, schedule a big Sunday on the last day of the campaign. Next, each ministry must have their own campaign under the church campaign. Number 5, each ministry must set their own goals. Number 6, each ministry must reward their own workers weekly. Every week, reward them. Number 7, use big day sign up as a tool for the big day. we would sign people up every week. How many did you sign up? And the person that signed up the most, we would make a Wednesday night, hey, we'll give it an award here. They've earned it. So we'd sign up and sign up and sign up and sign up for the big day, the last Sunday of the campaign. Next, decorate the church auditorium, decorate everywhere else. Decorate the church auditorium and decorate everywhere else. Now, my big thing was after the campaign was over, they better be down. I hate those church signs out front. This coming Sunday, and 3 weeks later, it's still up there. It just drove me crazy. That and teenage car washes. I'm sorry. But decorate the church auditorium, decorate everywhere, Sunday school classes everywhere. Make it a big deal. Put some effort into it. Number 9, put them up 2 weeks in advance. I would start before you start a campaign 2 weeks in advance. All the decorations in the auditorium, put everything up. And now, before that, the Sunday school teachers have their programs turned in, and the Sunday school superintendents and the bus captains and the bus division leaders and the bus director, all the ministries had it turned in advance. But publicly, you can start pushing 2 weeks before the campaign. We're talking about Sunday school campaigns. That is an ingredient that made these great churches of the past. It's so important. Small Sunday school classes that grow. Very, very important. They got to grow. All right, Sunday school campaigns. A growing church is one that has definite isolated times to emphasize numerical growth. Number 2, schedule 2, spring and fall. 3, schedule a big Sunday on the last day. Number 4, each ministry must have their own campaign. Okay, number 5, each ministry must set their own goals. Number 6, each ministry must reward their own workers weekly. Number 7, use big day signups to perpetuate the snowball effect for the big day. Decorate church auditorium, decorate everywhere, buses, everything, just decorate it. Number 9, put everything up 2 weeks in advance. Now you want the Sunday school programs turned in, bus programs turned before that, but when they walk in 2 weeks, they say, oh my goodness. And by the way, you can let it leak in your preaching and teaching. Sunday school campaigns, an earmark of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I think we were the last Mohicans. And there's some great churches coming on now. Great churches coming on now with younger men. And I'm tickled about it, just tickled about it. God bless you. Ministry Moments, YouTube, Bob Gray Sr. Subscribe. That way you can watch it at your leisure. And I'll be with you every Friday, 3 o'clock Central Time, if you want to see it live. And then Saturday, soul winning. Oh, please. Line up your converts, invite your guests, and pick them up on Sunday morning. They're not going to come if you don't go by and pick them up. They're babies. Go by and pick them. Well, if they're saved, they'd be here. Are you crazy in any other area of your life? They're babies. They're baby. Have a baby. Bring it home. Put it in a crib and say, hey, kids, supper's at 6. If you're hungry, you'll come to the table. They can't. They're babies. Got to be picked up, pampered, and changed, and diapered and everything. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Soul winning tomorrow. Let's get with it and let's win souls.